Hi everyone! So today's video is going to be different. It's going to be movies and also animes that you should watch if you're a witch. But technically these are movies and anime shows that I feel like you should watch even if you're not a witch. Just if you're spiritual, because if you're like me who likes to try and find things in this world that reminds you of back at home, or things that can help describe how certain things are to those who want to be supportive of you being spiritual and things like that, but don't understand exactly how crazy it can be. So like you can show these movies to families and friends who want to understand what it's like to like astral travel, to have visions, to come in contact with spirits, what can happen, what has happened, just things like that. And most of these movies and shows, anime shows, they have hidden meaning. So I'm just letting you know these are the ones that I found hidden meaning in that were super good. So it's gonna be up to you guys to find that meaning in each of these. So we'll start off with movies first that aren't anime. So first things first is Inception. Inception is really good for explaining how it is when you're doing lucid dreamings, and also astral traveling, in my opinion. There's also Incarnate. Now, let me tell you guys about Incarnate. So I have the movie, because I like collecting horror movies and things like that. So, and maybe I'll make a video on this later on in the future if you guys are curious. But there is an entity that would not leave me alone, and it was Abaddon, or some people call him Abaddon. He's the fallen angel of destruction, and he came along when I started to realize that my guardian my protector was Lucifer, and Lucifer warned me about him, and oh my god, he is way crazy than I thought, to where I even heard some people say that, you know, he's not a good person to work with. But, you know, to each their own, and we're kind of on level grounds now. But when he was attacking me, I had came across this movie and I was like, okay. So it was only $2 too, and it was on discount. So I bought it and I had me and my mom watch it. Everything in that movie, literally everything that happened in that movie, was everything that Abaddon was doing to me. And I took that as a warning from the movie, because I didn't know what the movie was about. They didn't even mention who the entity was in that movie, but from what I experienced with Abaddon, I'm calling him Abaddon, he is literally what that movie's about, just period. But it's a really good movie because it's about this guy who he works with possessions, and you know, it's just I highly suggest watching it, okay? So yes. Now there's also Rosemary's Baby. I think Rosemary's Baby is a pretty old movie, but I highly suggest watching it because there's a reason why. And this might depend on people's perspectives and things like that, but I highly suggest it because me and my mom would talk about how if you're, I know there's gonna be a lot of witches gonna be like, what? you're silly, you're crazy type of thing. Whoops. But with Rosemary's Baby, and there's a Christian movie that has to do with a girl who is becoming a nun, and this happened to her. And me and my mom would always discuss the idea that if you're chosen by a god, an entity, to like bear their child, that's a blessing, even if it's not what you would think, because sometimes, okay, don't get me wrong, they don't consent you. You know, sometimes it's just like, what's happening? Why'd you do this to me? Also, if you guys are curious about consent spiritually, and what can happen and things like that, I can make a video on that too, because I've had an instance with a entity that was not good when I was younger. But with Rosemary's Baby, basically she ended up mating with the devil and having his child, and she didn't know that he was the devil and she was tied up and everything. There's also a movie and a TV show called Gift. Now, both I highly suggest watching. The Netflix adaptation, The Gift, is I think in a different language, but it talks about like karma, but like from your ancestors, kind of like a generational curse, and how we pick our lives and how we want to live here, what leads up to certain things, how to break a generational curse, and it's really good. And the movie The Gift with Keanu Reeves in it, that's really good too, because the lady in it, she's a psychic, a medium, and she does tarot readings for Keanu Reeves' wife, who ends up getting murdered, and she's part of finding out who her murderer was and things like that. And oh yes, The Last Action Hero. Now this is a weird one because it has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and you would think, like, why is this a spiritual movie? Let me tell you. So the reason why it is because it is a very good, accurate representation of how it is astrally, and also what happens when you go to different dimensions. So like, so The Last Action Hero, and the movie The One with Jet Li in it. Those two movies are pretty much a good representation of this, where there's many different dimensions, there's many different realities from the one we're living now. And it shows you like what's the possibilities of what can happen, and like also the fact that fake characters that are made in this reality, they are actually real in a different reality. And that's something I found out when I did spirit work, was that there's a crap load. So, you know, so like, what's a good example? So I really like Devil May Cry. I love the series. I relate to it very spiritually. But there's a character in there, his name is V. There has been, I thought it was a spirit. But there's an entity, I'll just say it's an entity, within a realm that looks just like him. And it acts just like him and everything. Like, he is his own being. But it's the fact that people who create like monsters, fantasy characters, things like that, they're thought forms. And they kind of become their own life form. If you're curious about that topic, then just comment down below and I'll try and do a video on that too. But The Last Action Hero is a really good representation of just how things are spiritually, relating to things like that, along with The One with Jet Li in it. the movie, and I think you can watch on Netflix still, but it's called 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 2. Now, I've never seen the first movie of 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. I think there's only 2 movies of 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. 𝓢𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 is a Indian movie related in India, and it's actually about the god Shiva, and it is a darn good movie that represents Shiva. If you really like the Hindu gods, you'll like this movie, because it shows you like what he went through, especially for that who he loved, and just, oh, the energy of it is so great, especially when you hear them chanting Rudra, which I think is Shiva's, like, his rage or what he's feeling and stuff. I highly suggest watching it. It is so good, but you might cry, because I almost did. But anyway, there's also Insidious. Now with Insidious, I think that's part of like the Conjuring series. I'm not sure. But with Insidious, there's I think 3 movies. All of them are good, accurate representations of what it is when, like, you have passed on in the next life, possession, and astral traveling and things like that, and just jumping between realms. And I say this because within, I think, the second movie, spoilers, there's a guy, one of the guys, I forgot his name, I think he's like one of the main guys in there too. He ended up getting possessed, and the entity was keeping him away from his body. And so he was actually lost in a different reality, but it wasn't too far off from actual reality, to where he would be considered like a poltergeist, where he was able to press buttons, turn things on and stuff, but no one knew what the heck was doing that, you know? And you later find out that this guy, he wants to get back to his body. He doesn't want to lose his body and let the entity take complete control over and things like that. I don't think I explained that very well. I'm never usually good at explaining things very good, but that is definitely a good movie. I suggest if you're spiritual, especially if you do spirit work. So yes, let's see. The Matrix. The Matrix is like an obvious movie as to why you should watch it. I'm not even gonna explain. Also, I'm sorry if I'm bright. But I'm not gonna even explain why you should watch The Matrix, because it's The Matrix. The Avatar. Now, the reason why I say the Avatar is because it reminds me of lucid dreaming and astral traveling, but also it's a good representation as to if you're a spiritual person who's like this, where you want your hair to be long. It's kind of like with the Native Americans, why they don't like to cut their hair and they like to keep it long because it's like their life force. And the longer that it is, the more spiritual, or the more of a spiritual connection you have. And within the Avatar, the reason why their hair is so long is because it connects to like the tree of life, basically. And just, it's a really good representation as to why certain spiritual people don't like to cut their hair, and why keeping your hair long is a very, very sacred thing. Now, there's also the butterfly effect. That one's really, really good for, I think, like the Mandela effect too. Pan's Labyrinth, because of obvious reasons, especially if you had experienced similar things, similar, not like exact, when you were younger, being a kid, using your imagination a lot, and things like that. And then The Legend of the Demon Cat. Now, The Legend of the Demon Cat is an Asian movie, but it is so good. It will definitely make you cry. It sounds like a cheesy movie, but trust me, when you watch it, for any of those who likes to travel astrally a lot, it will definitely just remind you of how beautiful it is, how beautiful things can be in that realm. In each realm, it's amazing, and just the relationship of the cat and how he became is beautiful. It kind of makes you realize that animals have a spirit within them. And I mean, of course they do. But this one will make you more appreciative of your pet, your familiar. So yes. And now, we're gonna go on to animes. So, this one's a manga. It's not really an anime, but it is a manga. And it's called I Love Ano-kun So Much I Could Die. Now, this manga, I relate to so much on like such a deep level, because of when I was younger and my relationship with Lucifer, and not realizing who he was and stuff. And it's really good if you had like a lot of spirit friends when you were younger that you thought were imaginary, and the things that you go through with those spirits. It's bizarre, but it's very accurate, and you might also get hints here and there as to like, oh, that's probably why this happened and that happened and stuff. And then of course, the all-time famous thing, anime, movie too, Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is like definitely pretty much like a #1 anime. If you have not watched it, I highly suggest to watch it. It is amazing, it is great. I want to create a lot of spells and chants and things like that relating to Demon Slayer, especially to when you watch the anime in the beginning and stuff. The main character, Toshiro? Oh gosh, I already forgot his name. No, he's the one I really like. But anyways, he ends up going to the wisteria forest, and just the idea of what the wisteria trees do, like I already knew what they do spiritually, but it's just so amazing. Saiki. Saiki is a very ADHD anime, which I think is why I really like it. It's about this guy, Saiki. He has pink hair and these little antennas on his head. And he's basically like a superhero. He has all the powers of what like it is to be a psychic and medium, just everything. He can do like telepath. He can telepathically talk to people, which is usually how he talks anyways. He just, it's crazy. And like his friends, oh my gosh, they're great. And there's this one girl who I want to cosplay as because I have a crystal ball right here. She's a medium, and she always has a crystal ball with her, and she'll tell you like the future and things like that, and then for some reason she'll just break them and stuff. It's a really fast-paced anime, but if you have ADHD and you don't mind that, then you will definitely enjoy the show. And like I said, the show is like pretty much spiritual. It's just done in a more comical way. So yeah, another one. Now this is a movie, or the next few that I'm going to mention are from a movie. There's a movie called Whisker Away. They played it on Netflix, and it is a very touching movie. It explains like just it's a really good movie. That's all I can say. It's a really good movie spiritually, especially for those who are spiritual and suffer with depression and anxiety, and just like those thoughts that you try fighting off and stuff, you can really relate to the girl in the show and what she goes through. And then Princess Mononoke, a Studio Ghibli movie. Princess Mononoke, well, actually pretty much any Studio Ghibli movie is really good spiritually. Excuse me. Princess Mononoke is a really, really good movie that, like, I don't know, for me it makes me want to connect with nature a lot more and understand the spirits that are in nature and why it's so important to protect nature and to have and to establish a relationship with it. Then there's The Boy and the Beast. Now, The Boy and the Beast is really good too because astrally, again, and it just reminds me of like relationships I have built with spirits in the astral realm, the plane, and just lucid dreaming and things like that. Spirited Away, because of the same reason, but also because, you know, when you go to places, you can pick up energy, you can sometimes pick up the spirits and stuff, and just Spirited Away is very accurate in that sense, especially if you had experiences like that when you were younger. Now, Bleach. Yes, there's an anime called Bleach. They have a crap load of episodes, but how the spirit world works within there, it's almost similar to how it is when you're actually working in the spirit realm, and astrally and just everything. Inuyasha. Inuyasha is like one of those old school animes that are just one of those glorious ones. Definitely Inuyasha though is a really good spiritual anime. Yeah. Then there's Kakeshi. Kakeshi, they used to show on Adult Swim, and it's kind of like an older anime at this point. But it was these priests that would try and fight off demons and things like that, that would be going around causing harm and stuff. And there's the last one, is Mononoke. Now, Mononoke is really wicked. It's really cool. I haven't actually watched the anime, but I've seen previews of it, and oh my gosh, it is definitely like there. It is good. It is definitely something that I would consider spiritual because of what the spirits do to the humans and stuff, and that this guy is trying to stop the spirits and demons and stuff from doing. So, yes. Now, like I said, I know I'm not the best at describing things, but trust me on my words that these movies and animes are just really good to watch. If you are spiritual, if you're a witch, if you're a pagan, if you're a shaman, they're really good to watch and enjoy, and to find the hidden meanings in them. So yes. Do you have any that you suggest? If you do, try and explain why. So yes, I hope you all liked today's video, and I will see you all later. Bye!